Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. The hot stove has started. A big trade with a couple Florida Gators and Yusei Kikuchi to the Halos. Let's talk ball. Kikuchi.
Reese Hoskins. Remember that?
Sure do. Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. SeatGeek, code Talkin10. Go get yourself tickets to something. Jake Storielli, Trevor Plouffe, as we are getting into the teeth of the off season. We had our first trade. A couple guys, if you didn't get the reference, they played University of Florida together, traded together. Singer for Jonathan India, which I feel like we've had, 4 years of Jonathan India trade rumors, so that finally goes down. And then Yusei Kikuchi, who is going to be one of the, question mark starting pitchers signed this offseason, signs with a little bit of a question mark. Trev, how you doing, big guy?
I'm so happy to be talking ball with you on this Monday morning. I'm happy we got some news because, as we talked about, this is kind of the weird time period with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and some of these teams took our advice, Jake, and they got active before the holidays. So this is it's going to be a fun one. I do think we have been talking about India being traded for 4 years. He's like Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks forever was talked about being traded, and all of a sudden he actually went over to the Yanks.
Oh,
yeah,
good way to bring your twins into it. Yeah, glad.
It's all about me, Jake.
Glad it always is, man.
Did you the color combination? I try not to talk about your outfits anymore, but the color combination is throwing me off right now. This is olive green and purple. I don't know.
I'll be straight up with you, and everyone on the YouTube, please subscribe. We appreciate it. Happy holidays, all that fun stuff. I tried to do some. I'm not going to stand up for you. I don't know if you remember this. I got a pair of stylish joggers. Like they tried to get into they almost look like suit pants.
Are they pleated?
Yes.
Okay.
And at first I'm wearing 3 shirts right now, which I never do. At first I put this on and it kind of didn't work. So then I just add another layer because I think it's all about layering. I feel like every time I see a hot guy, they're wearing 11 shirts. Like Timothy Chalamet is always wearing 9 shirts. I guess I just have body fat for that. I don't know.
Just put some more on then, I guess.
I don't know. So yeah, I might, by the end of this show, I might just have more shirts on and hope at some point I look good. We'll see. Trev, let's talk some ball, man. It's been a lot of Juan Soto, and where's this guy gonna sign? Things are starting to happen. We're not really going to talk a lot of Soto today. He's actually taking real meetings, and hopefully we'll start to get some meat there, and hopefully that starts to get the whole offseason going. And we'll get into that more with the free agents with the Kikuchi trade. But let's talk the Jonathan India-Brady Singer trade. So Jonathan India from the Cincinnati Reds, rookie of the year. The hair keeps growing, the facial hair. Kind of a favorite on this program going back to the Scooter Reds. He gets traded with Joey Weimer, another show favorite, Joey Weimer, for Brady Singer. So we have a case here. The Kansas City Royals, we talked about their lineup a lot as they made their postseason run. They add a bona fide hitter. The Reds add a certified at the minimum innings eater and a guy that we've seen with the potential to give you more out of the rotation. I guess, what are your initial reactions to the trade?
Sometimes it just lines up for both teams. That's what my initial reaction is. I like this trade. I think that there was a lot of things you can point to with both of these teams and reasons that they, eventually made this deal happen. For the Reds, they were looking for a little bit more stability in that rotation, a bunch of young guys who, they needed someone to eat some innings so they could, skip a day if they need to, or, just they needed to add depth to that rotation. And now that you look at it, in the addition of Singer, along with, Lodolo and Hunter Green and Abbott, there's there's potential there. And so I like it for, a Reds team that I believe the count was 16 different starting pitchers last year for them. So you stabilize the rotation. I'm always about stabilizing the rotation. So it makes sense for them. And then for the Royals, I think it's almost a two-parter here. BWitt Jr. hitting second. Did not hit with a lot of runners on base last year. The leadoff man for the Kansas City Royals hit 228, 270, 334 for a 604 OPS. So they're looking to put somebody in front of BWitt, to turn that lineup over and to, benefit more from having a guy that's finished second in the MVP there. So it makes sense. I was looking at some stats prior to this about Jonathan India, and I told you, sometimes you're like, hey, I'm going to look up this stat. Hopefully it fits my narrative. And fortunately for me, this one did. I said, how many pitches does Jonathan India see per plate appearance? Because I do feel like he works a good at bat. Last year, he's like a 360, 370 kind of OBP guy. So, you went and just raised the Royals leadoff hitters by 100 points as far as on base percentage. But Jonathan India takes those good at bats. He's actually, last year was 15th in all of baseball, 4.16 pitches per plate appearance. I'm looking at this list. I don't see one Royal on there. So you're adding a guy that's, taking a professional in bat in front of your murderer's row of BWitt, Sal, and Vinny P. I think it's a no-brainer for them. The only question I really have for the Royals is kind of where does he fit defensively? I thought Massey played well last year. I liked watching him, play second base. They have Garcia at third. I think that'll be interesting to see how they kind of find that rotation out. But when you can add somebody that is a proven stick at the top of the line that can get on base, I think it makes it a ton of sense. And then to finalize my thoughts, the Joey Weimer throw in, I think, is great for the Royals. Look, this guy is an athlete, and he's got 5 years of control. He's 26 years old. Like, sometimes things happen a little bit later for guys. If they can, kind of harness his ability, let him go run around that big old outfield out there. I think that's just like a lottery ticket for them that they could find themselves, feeling pretty good about the trade if he turns into something.
Yeah,
well, I'm in. I think this is great for both teams.
It's always where you wonder how the trade talks actually went down, because these guys have the same amount of service time remaining. Like, they have 2 years left. Again, both Florida Gators, both high draft picks. That, at what point during the negotiations was it like, hey, let's do Singer for India straight up? And it's like, well, actually, we're going to need more with India. Well, we're going to need more with Singer. Joey Weimer, the lottery ticket he is, we've seen him play some high-level defense at the major league level. If he has that one thing click with his swing, and worst case, you've got a quad A guy to call up this season if you're Kansas City. India, position-wise, I'm not too worried yet. They needed hitting. Right now, Fangraphs is listing him as their DH. Ideally, you'd want a little more pop there, although if everything else this offseason lands however they're looking to go get it, like Jonathan India doesn't grade out well defensively. So if that's it and some other guys fall into place at other positions, okay, let's do it. Go hit, get on base. And he got on base at the leadoff spot. Like, that's important to me. Like, this wasn't he hit 6 for the Reds and he put up these numbers. He's been a leadoff guy for a lot of his time, or at least a top part of the lineup guy. I am interested. He had some pretty big home road splits last year. You're going from a bit of a hitter's park in Great American Ballpark going over to Kansas City, so let's see what that looks like. But he's in his prime. I think he fits in with those guys. I know that's dumb stuff, but like India, Witt, Vinny P, yeah, and you mentioned Michael Massey. I do believe it was his wedding over the weekend. I saw Vinny Pasquantino posting IG stories.
Yeah, I did see that. Vinny looked great.
All the boys did. Witter, it's if you don't know, and I was at a very popular one last year, but it's MLB wedding season. This is when the guys can get married, so all the guys are doing the wedding rounds. For the Cincinnati Reds,
Sure.
if we were doing which side won the trade, I slightly lean the Reds. Brady Singer, we've seen the last 3 years, he has thrown 150 innings. That's something you can count on. Nobody in the Reds' current rotation has started more than 26 times in a season. He's done that the past 3 years. So, you are adding a stabilizing force with some serious upside. In 2022, when he kind of broke out fully, 3.23 ERA, 153 innings, everyone is expecting him to build upon that breakout. He didn't the next year. He got rocked around the park, but he bounced back, which, hey, I don't know if that shows some sort of level of resilience. I don't know what happened fully in the 2023 season, but both these guys are in their prime. I'm going to lead, especially for both these teams' needs, because Kansas City needed a hitter, Cincinnati needed a pitcher. It felt like Cincinnati needed a pitcher more than Kansas City needed a hitter. Maybe that's dramatic and just wrong. But with Brady Singer and go check out where Hunter Green's stats landed last year. Yeah. You can be building a steady rotation. And for Cincinnati, this was kind of the move that, again, there was a reason it was rumored for years. Matt McClain is supposed to be healthy next year. He takes second base. Elliott short. Noelvi Marte at third. McClain was hurt. Noelvi had the PED thing. I think if you're the Cincinnati Reds, it feels like, hey, we kind of opened up a window. We don't know what kind of window it is. Maybe it's a chasing 86 win wild card window, which, hey, in today's modern baseball, that can get you somewhere. But it feels like they made themselves a better all around team with this trade.
It's very impressive, I think, for the Reds to be able to get Brady Singer for a guy that everyone knew they needed to trade. Sometimes you lose your leverage when everyone's like, hey, we know you got all these guys coming back. We know you've been shopping Jonathan India for years. Luckily for them, he had a good year last year. But yeah, when you know someone needs to get rid of a player, like I said, you kind of lose the leverage there. But yeah, I do agree with you. If I'm looking at this face value and who it helps the most next year, I mean, I don't know, man. I guess I'll always lean a starting pitcher. Like I said, stabilizing the rotation is very important. But I mean, we just read the numbers of the Royals' leadoff hitters last year, and we're gonna, take a huge step up from that offensively. Did they sell high on Brady Singer? Sometimes my mind will run that way. All of a sudden, in 2023, you asked what happened. He had a negative 12 run value on a sinker. He flipped that to positive 13 this year. I don't know what he did different.
That helps.
They found something. So, I think I like this trade for both sides. I really, really do. And it begs the question, Jake, is this the hottest middle infield duo in baseball? BWitt Jr. and Jonathan India.
There's definitely an argument, right?
Name some other ones that are beating that, because I'm not really sure, Pop.
Well, I like both sides. I mean, even if you could go, Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain, you kind of get a little bit of different.
A little bit of both. Okay.
Different tastes there.
Like a tall alien and kind of like a short, stout king.
Kind of like, what do you like?
That.
That's
like me and you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we get a lot of comments on this show.
Gunnar Henderson and, just put Jackson Holiday there. That's decent.
I mean,
maybe too young. Too young for me.
Yeah. Let's see it sort out throughout the rest of free agency. Seager and Simeon. I mean, you could kind of pair anyone.
Sugar daddies, baby.
It's sugar daddies, and Simeon is fierce. Comment below.
Yeah. Comment below. Hottest middle infield duo.
Who's Lindor pair with? I guess the Mets have a lot of. I don't know. There's a lot of options out there. Bo Bichette. It was a good. I think the thing we keep falling back on, and it's because we're about to talk Kikuchi in a second, and hey, we're even some Red Sox coming at the end of this with Devers, and is a guy like Tristan Casas available. the pitching commodity is just different priced. Like, I think India finished with like a 1.4 WAR last year. That we just saw Yusei Kikuchi get over 20 mil a year when he has very limited seasons being a plus pitcher, where Brady Singer now is young, like he's got 2 in the last 3. That it slightly feels like you'd rather have Singer. I do like that the Royals are trying to address a team need, and hey, maybe they've got something figured out pitching wise. Cole Reagans they got for Chapman, and they've tapped into him fully. Lugo and Waka, even the old Bulls, like, hey, if they have a formula to figure out their pitching, go get your hitting. Let me tell you about Just Bats, the largest online bat store. You won't find a better selection with brands like DeMarini, Easton, Louisville Slugger, Marucci, and more. So to shop today and find your next baseball or softball bat. At Just Bats, you can buy baseball bats, softball, all from the top brands, over 1,000 models. The BB Core, yep. Wood, youth bats, and more. Stand out at the plate with some personalization and never mistake your bat for someone else's again. Me and Trev did that once. Shop the hottest bats at the lowest prices this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Save 80% off. Select brands at Just Bats with free shipping and free returns on every order. Just Bats is the place to buy your baseball and softball bats. There isn't a better online shopping experience than the one you'll receive with them. So head on over, justbats.com today. Find your next gamer and some new lumber. There's a link in the description below. Thanks, Just Bats. Let me tell you about Under 5'10". They make modern basics for shorter dudes. Yep. Jeans, chinos, joggers. I'm wearing the joggers right now. Button-down shirts, hoodies, tees, and more, all at a great price. And best of all, they'll fit you perfectly right out of the box, so you don't need to spend more time doing the alterations. I bought a jacket a couple years ago, and I've needed to get it altered, and I just never have. And now I just have a big jacket I don't wear because I'm under 5'10". I'm going to be honest with the people. It's finally out there. What a relief for me. And some of their newest items, including the super soft joggers. Yep. Ultra stretchy casual pants and long sleeve t-shirts. If you're a shorter guy or you got a shorter guy in your life looking to be stylish and comfortable, Under 5'10" is your solution. And right now, you got a $10 off coupon if you give them a try. Hit the link in the description to see our favorites, and the offer will pop up right for you. Thanks, Under 5'10". Trev, Yusei Kikuchi signs to your Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. 3 years, $63 million, right on the projected number for a lot of websites, and maybe that's what he wanted, and the first team to give him that price tag, he took it. I just talked about some of the pitching value and all of that. When he went over to the Houston Astros last year, Kikuchi did shove, and he earned himself a lot of this money as his 10 starts at a 2.70 ERA, 60 innings pitched, 76 strikeouts in those innings. Trev, where do you want to go, man? Because there's a pitcher side to this. There's an Angel side to this. Please.
Yeah, I think we'll do the Angels in a whole because they've
done
a few. That's a WHOLE, not HOLE.
There's a lot of that on the internet the past week or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've been okay. I think a lot of people want the Angels to just strip it down and absolutely rebuild. The problem with that is it doesn't really work that way anymore. With the draft lottery, you're not guaranteed anything if you end up with a terrible record. So really you have to be, which I think is a good thing. I think it really is a good thing for baseball. So to be successful in today's game, your organization has to be able to develop players and trade for players. Like addressing everything via free agency is just not the answer. You can supplement, maybe it's something that puts you over the top, but very rarely, maybe the Rangers are the most recent example of this. Very rarely do you just go out and change a franchise because of what you do in free agency. You can say, the Royals did it last year. They had BWitt Jr. in the organization. They had Sal Perez in the organization. Vinny P. And they supplemented. They didn't change the organization via free agency. So I like these deals for the Angels, going out and signing Darno, going out and signing Kikuchi, trading for Soler. They're not organizational changing deals, but they're a start. They're a start to some culture. I talked about that before. I think it might have been with Chris Rose about you can't like if you have guys coming up, you have to try to create some wins on the field. Like you need to create that culture. Bring guys over who have done it. And is it going to serve you like for like next year? Like, are the Angels all of a sudden going to be running it for the AOS? Well, maybe if they make more moves, I don't know. But as of right now, probably not. But you're starting to, I don't know, win back your fan base a little bit. More importantly for me, it's you get guys around together trying to win baseball games, and that creates the culture. Ron Washington wants to do that. And now he's got some guys, on the team. They're moving in the right direction. And all we ever ask teams is to be active, go try to get better. So the Angels have done that this year. And maybe it is because they saw the Royals and say, hey, they added a few guys and look what happened to them. Now the Angels don't have BWitt Jr. on their team, but they have some young guys that they like that are homegrown. And I don't know. It's been interesting. I think these moves are smart. Like 3 years, 63. That's not like even that's not, crazy. I think you're paying for what he did with the Astros. You understand that if he goes out and balls out the first half of this year and your team's kind of middling, like that's a very attractive deal to a lot of different teams right there. So could you recoup some stuff in a trade package? There's just a lot of options that you have if you're the Angels. So I'm happy for them, man. I want to see them get back to being, a competitive organization, and moves like this, I think, are a start.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, it just feels like the same song and dance, man. And I realize like I'm probably gonna walk all over myself a little bit because I hear what you're saying, and you got to do something, right? Like I shouldn't be mad they brought in Jorge Soler. Basically for the price of free. Like I think the Braves DFA'd Griff Canning, so like, okay, so they brought Jorge Soler in on his contract. They signed Kikuchi to a deal that won't really hurt their books. They're betting on the potential they saw in the last 10 starts. Those 10 starts are with an organization that has tapped into players for the past decade now, and the Angels kind of have felt like they've had the opposite effect. But what are you supposed to do? Not sign players because we can't coach them well. And the whole thing, they brought in Ron Washington. It's a new front office, new staff, all of that. I don't know. You need starting pitchers. You need innings. Kikuchi did end up throwing 175 of them last year, and whatever you learned at the end of last season, but keep doing that.
It's also, dude, it's demoralizing showing up to the ballpark and like, okay, do you want to know the ranks of all of their starting pitching or the rotation last year? I mean, they all start with a 26, 27, 28, 30th in baseball and all the important statistics. It is demoralizing to your franchise to show up and know that you don't really have a chance. So like address that. Like get some of that stank out of there, man. Like I've played on teams where we knew we were just going to lose, and it's just an absolute waste of a year, waste of any sort of ability to improve or to get better as a player because you're just like, man, it sucks. So like I think there is an aspect to that with these signings. Like we need to like put a better foot forward. We need to sign some guys. We need to get that out. And the organizations that they brought them in from, the Braves, Kikuchi a little bit of time with the Astros. What are the secrets? Like, give me the secret sauce. Bring something over from those organizations. Put that smell, if you will, on us. Like, I think there's a lot of that aspect is why they made these moves, in my opinion. It makes sense to me if you think about it like that. Like, we can't go out there and be this team. It is detrimental to the future of this franchise as well. Like, you have to start being competitive, even if it's, smaller moves like this that, it's just that one first step.
Here's the devil's advocate angle that I think I'm into, because Trev, I'll be honest with you. I like the optimism in your heart. It's the off season. That's what we need. If we're doing the team profile and projection tomorrow and we see the rotation of Kikuchi, Soriano, Anderson, Hendricks, Detmers, I don't think we're getting too jazzy about these Angels.
You know how I feel about Reed Detmers. I know they need to trade him. They need to trade him.
I don't think so. I think you need to figure out how to make Reed Detmers work.
That too. Yes, like I think this guy could be an absolute stud. I've seen him just locked in. The problem, he's like Blake Snell to the max. Like there are times where he just looks unhittable. I believe he has a no-hitter under his belt. And then other times where he just can't find the strike zone and just is not very good. I agree. Please tap into this guy.
Here's what we don't know. And again, this might be a little dark, but this might be a little true because we've talked about this the past few free agencies with some of the big starting pitchers out there. Your guy Snell, Monty, guys signing with the Angels. Like, there's this starting pitching crop. Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Snell, Flaherty, Manaea. You start getting into Evaldi and some other pieces that, let's see where those contracts land, and all those guys have pretty decent markets. Is there any chance that the Angels were like, hey, we need pitching. Let's go get pitching, that they talked to Snell and Snell was like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm probably not going to sign with the Halos. And they called up Max Fried, and Max Fried is like, I'm looking at East Coast. Or Corbin Burns, like, yeah, if you guys want to pay $250 million, let's talk about it. Is there a chance that they kind of looked at this starting pitching free agency landscape and was like, hey, Kikuchi's looking to get his 3 for 63. That can be our guy. It's not the biggest commitment. We don't have to get in bidding wars / or against guys that maybe don't want to be here.
Yeah, I think they went out and got someone early. I don't know if Kikuchi celebrates Thanksgiving, but it also kind of comes into my play on that. Like go. They're saying go ugly early. I just think go out and sign guys. Like you said, yeah, does he want to be there? Sure, whatever. But the fact that kind of lost my train of thought here. That's it.
You were deep in Thanksgiving, and then you got thrown off because Kikuchi may not celebrate.
I don't think he does.
He probably doesn't.
So maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
Is there a qualifying offer attached to Kikuchi? No, there's not. He got traded to the Astros last year. No qualifying offer. Only 3 years, $20 million a year. There's a lot of attractive things about Kikuchi that, I think Perry saw and was like, hey, this guy can be through stretches just as good as those other guys. We've seen him do that. So why not go make that move? I think it's a smart, savvy move by the Angels. I do. It gives them options, Jake. If he's there for 3 years and dominates and they get better, then okay. Do I see that happening? No. I think if he goes out there and pitches really well, I think eventually they trade him and try to bring in more players. I think there's a lot of options. I really do.
Hopefully they have options. If he pitches like he does in Houston, it'll look like one of the better signings of the offseason. So it's tough because you can't take off the Angel blinders anymore. I mean, we've been at this for a while now, and it's the same story every year. That hopefully the story's got to change at some point.
Is there any part of this that's like, hey, we had the Japanese market on lock with Shohei. Lost that last year. Is any part of that going on with this, you think? Probably, right?
Crazier things have been said.
Japanese ball players are the hottest thing in Major League Baseball right now. They're the bells of the ball. Like every team's like, I need to have a Japanese star on my team. There's a whole market there waiting to be, explored. And it's a lot of things I like about this, Jake. You know what else I like? Kikuchi is going to end up with $130 million in his bank account and really is never put together a full year.
That's crazy. Is that the right amount of money? Yeah.
His lowest ERA was a 3.86 through 167 innings. Somehow got a Cy Young 9 with a 4.05 in last year. How does that work?
He was great for Houston down the
He
stretch.
signed through this. He's made $80 million already.
What's he doing? Isn't he notoriously sleepy? Doesn't he sleep 13 hours a day?
What's in his basement? I don't know.
Just
Good
like
for him, man.
Just different beds. And not like Diddy style, just like different types of sleep.
When people are complaining and saying, man, pitchers just all they want is their stat cast in their spin rate. It's like, yeah, like the peripherals get you paid. Teams can dream.
And hey, the other just little note on this, Houston traded for him at the deadline. They gave up a bit of a package. Jake Bloss, Joey Loperfido, and Will Wagner. Let's see how that plays out over the next couple years. Houston, they got bounced by those Tigers this year, Detroit Kitties, and the Blue Jays. Maybe it can be, something they can look at in the next couple years of like, hey, we did pretty good on that deal. We got a couple MLB bodies out of it. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle. Yep. And save 50% off site-wide during their cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code TALKIN. Their gifting experts have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts. That's right. I had a few of those last holiday season. Yeah. Save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code TALKIN and a $30 reward card when you sign up and shop early. 50% off Omaha, OMAHA steaks.com, and add an extra $30 off with promo code TALKIN, minimum purchase apply. You know what I always try to be? A fan that never loses. Here's what I mean. If my Yanks or Trev's Twins or maybe your Halos don't win every single night, on the nights they do lose, you can still love the game, the passion for baseball, and what pairs better with baseball than Corona. Whether it's a ballpark snack, home run, we're a small ball crew over here. It's always time to grab a Corona, finding the maximum amount of joy with every moment from the game. So cheers to everyone who loves the game beyond the scoreboard. Corona, for the fan who never loses. Get yours at ordercorona.com. 21 plus, relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer, imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois. Go get yourself some Coronas. Trev, a little bit of news rumors from the Commonwealth. Your Boston Red Sox, they're talking about moving Devers to first base. I mean, this has been something that's been rumored for a little bit now. There's also third baseman available in this free agency market, whether that's Bregman, Arenado via trade, Willy Adames sliding over. And we've been curious how the Red Sox are going to get in the mix this offseason. They've been attached to Crochet. I think the thing I want to ask you is, like, where do you, from a player's side, feel about... It's easy for us to be like, Devers should move to first, right? Like, obviously, Rafael Devers, who has improved at third base, has put in a lot of work there. He also has signed a mega contract that he's going to be in Boston for a long time, and he's not going to slide to short or second. I'd love to know your thoughts on the whole position move concept. And then if the Red Sox do go through with this, people are wondering, would that make Tristan Casas or Yoshida available via trade? And could that be kind of a triggering move for the Red Sox to retool on their pitching staff or somewhere else?
Yeah, I think if this does happen, has massive implications for the way the Red Sox, operate going forward. If they make those guys available, we talked about how left-handed heavy they are. The young guys they brought up, the young guys that are still on their way up. There's a lot of lefties there, so they have some depth. They have some corner infield depth. They have some outfield depth that they can deal from. Excuse me. From a player's perspective, moving positions. I think you have to be realistic with yourself. I got a call one off season to move off of shortstop, and I had to look myself in the mirror and say, well, yeah, like you didn't play that well at shortstop, and that's a very important position. You got to field the ball, you got to be able to do things there, and I wasn't getting the job done. That was to the outfield. That was a little bit bigger shock to me. That was learning basically a completely new skill set. Third base to first base, I think, is obviously a little bit closer. Not that I've always said this on this show. First base is not a slouch position. It's just not. There's so many, even more so than third base. Like third base, yes, you're still involved in bunt coverages. You're a relay guy. So like those things are going to translate. But there's so many more responsibilities on every play for a first baseman. Knowing one of the biggest things a first baseman has to learn, and it's one of the last things to come because you just need reps there, is how far can I play off the base and still get to the base on a ground ball to the shortstop? Like you have to get to first base. So like it's not as easy as everyone thinks. Could Rafael Devers do it and become a good first baseman? I think so. Yeah. Like you have to be taught the right way. When you sign a deal like he did, I mean, he signed through 2033. I'm sure there was discussion about like, hey, like this is what we see from you in the future. I'm curious what that was. Was it, hey, like we're going to keep you at third base. We'll want you comfortable there. And then all of a sudden, 1 year into the deal, you're telling him differently. Like that could cause a little bit of, anger in a player. But again, I think you have to be realistic if you're Rafael Devers and say, well, I really haven't. Yeah, have I improved? Have things gotten better? Yeah, but I'm still not where I need to be defensively. And maybe this will unlock something even more offensively. If you can get over there, feel comfortable, in the field, maybe things change. But you never know till you do it. I don't think he should be opposed to the move. And like I said, if they do end up doing this, like I think it just creates, a chain of events that, really shake up this roster big time.
Yeah, the work he's shown me at third base through the years, because he has put in the work and improved a lot of his skill set over there. If he brings that to first base, I mean, I think you're looking at a guy that can be a potential plus over there. Like Rafi scoops. Like sure, there's going to be growing pains, but if you lean into that, he's 28 years old. He just turned 28 in October. Like you can be looking at a guy that can be a high-level third baseman for the next 5 years, 6 years. That I'd like to think that's the move, and I think he's Rafael Devers. He's one of the best pure hitters in baseball. That sure, having him on your team is awesome, but having him at third base, like you know that you're not going to get a plus defensively over there. Like you're hoping to get league average with obviously a plus hitter. That if you move him to first base, and depending who you bring in at third, it can change your whole team dynamic.
Yeah.
That and that's before you get to the fact that if they do this, we just talked about the trade market. Tristan Casas, man, that's a guy that people are wondering how a Garrett Crochet trade is going to go down. And maybe it's not Crochet. But Casas wouldn't be a free agent till through the 2028 season. He got hurt going into last year. When he came back, he put up kind of Casas numbers, a 120 OPS plus, 13 homers in 63 games. Like in the past 2 years, he's had an 838 OPS as a 23 and a 24-year-old. That's a cornerstone piece, man. That's a guy that if trade talks are developing, whether it's Crochet or another piece, you can really sink your teeth in. Like if you're the team trading away a big piece, Luis Castillo is a guy that's been rumored this offseason. If you're the team trading away a guy like that, you need to point to something to your fan base and just getting value back. That if it's that, or if there is a Masataka Yoshida trade, like we talked about some of Jonathan India's numbers, Yoshida's numbers are in that range. Obviously, like the contract's a little different, but teams need lefty bats. I know he's struggled defensively. If this is the move that unlocks Boston's offseason, and you're right, dude, when they came up with that contract, they didn't have Devers there for over a decade plus. No. It feels like a a positive step in direction of change for the Red Sox.
These are all rumors, by the way. His agent came out and said, like, no, he's a third baseman. That's what he likes. That's what he wants to play. So, like, there's that. And it's an interesting one for me because you don't have to trade Casas if you move him to first base. You have to relegate him to DH, and maybe you move, like you said, Yoshida. But also, why can't Devers just do that? I think moving a 24-year-old to DH, it's just like, that's faux pas to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So if they did actually commit to moving him to first base, I think that does signal that Casas is getting traded. I don't think you just move him to DH. Like, if you wanted to get Devers off of third base to bring somebody else in, whether it's an Adames, a Bregman, or an Arenado, or whoever else, you could just say, Dev, like, go DH. We're going to keep Casas at first base. Instead of you having to learn a completely new position, let's just keep a guy that's played there and knows what he's doing, you DH. It's interesting, man. I kind of want it to happen because it will really set off, like I said, a chain of events that'll change the landscape of baseball. Because if Casas becomes available, you're right. That's massive return package for a guy like that who's got the numbers he's got with the team control that he's under. The sky's the limit for the package that you could ask for him. Like, what would the freaking Mariners give up to get him?
Hey, man, I know money gets tricky here, but because Luis Castillo's getting paid, Casas isn't. But I'd be interested in how that. I would be super interested to see how that general manager trade conversation went down. The if Seattle and Boston got on the horn and were like, "Hey, Casas, how about this? Casas for Castillo." Which side says you have to put in something else?
Oh, I think the Red Sox say you have to put in some money.
Yeah.
At least.
I know. It's in our heads.
Who still has option years, right? He's not even in arbitration yet.
Right. You're getting Casas for a
little above league minimum.
I think you're right. I think maybe for some baseball fans that's a tough thought starter exercise because of who Luis Castillo is. That would be very interesting because Boston's a team that, again, should have the bankroll to bring on that kind of money. And go look at Tristan Casas' spray chart. If you had to bet on a guy that Seattle wouldn't hurt him too much, he is all over the park and deep. Trevor Plouffe special. Let's see it, Boston. Get in the mix this offseason, man.
They're supposed to be in the mix. There's going to be.
I think they are.
They're willing to. They're willing to. Pay the competitive balance tax. Like, go over that threshold. So that's. If you're a Boston Red Sox fan and you finished what? Did they finish straight up 500 last year? Is that what it was?
Let's see, Trev. Good question. Red Sox final record. They finished with 500 on the
81 and 81.
nose.
Yeah. Wow. It's like I talk baseball for a living.
Wow.
You got to give him something, man. Like, let's go. Craig Breslow, you're a smart guy. I think he was a teammate of mine at one point.
Okay. Reach out, Craig.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Reach out. I'll let you know what to do with this whole situation.
Man,
okay, in your mind,
Sure.
Let's just real quick answer here. What do you do in this situation? Do you stand pat and how things are? And just trade from your outfield depth?
I would move Devers to first. I would use what should be my financial flexibility to make a trade for Castillo or Arenado. And kind of like you were saying, Arenado especially, that could just be almost a salary dump of sorts that I think his swing with the monster might work out. And then if you still have Casas, can that get a crochet trade done? Like, you can you can really retool this thing. And
think about their outfield too, man. Jarren Duran, Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu, like these are all young guys
yes.
that are legitimate big leaguers and, have shown like some real flashes there.
And like there's supposed to be more help along the way, whether it's Kyle Teal or Marcelo Meyer. Like I don't know if it's next year, but yeah, if you can build something now and then have reinforcements on the way, that's how the Red Sox get in the mix more. So interested to see which way they go for it. Trev, let's wrap up with some of the non-tender. We had kind of the final start to free agency. If you have no idea, and Trev, you can, I say this in a tasteful way, you can talk about this better than me. But the non-tender players enter arbitration, and teams, if they deem that they don't want to pay whatever their updated arbitration number would be, they non-tender them. It allows them to go to free agency and sign wherever they want. So that's obviously a double-edged sword where free agency sign wherever they want because, you're with an organization you've been with. If they're not willing to pay it as another team, in some cases, yes, in some cases, no. I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an important part of like a roster process. I mean, non-tender means you get taken off the roster essentially. So you're not on a 40-man roster anymore. You can still negotiate with your team for like a lesser salary and then they can put you back on the roster. You can, get granted free agency. So, I mean, yeah, the Twins did this my last year of arbitration. I was going to make, $10 million or something like that. That's what I was projected for. And they said, you know what, we got Miguel Sano and we think we can allocate that $10 million better elsewhere, which is, looking back at it, really stupid for the Twins, if I have to say so myself.
Yeah.
So they cut me. They gave me a call and said, hey, we're taking you off the roster. Thanks for all that you done. And then I ended up signing a 1-year deal with the A's for less than that. So, that's kind of what these guys are all going. It's not fun, man. I'll tell you that much. Like it's kind of a sad day. Like you're in the off season now, all of a sudden your future's, in flux. Some of these guys they know they're going to get a big league deal. Like I knew I was going to get a big league deal when I got non-tender, but it is for a lot of them, it is, their first organization who, they care about you more than any other organization that you're ever going to be part of. Like your first one cares about you the most and you develop some equity, if you will, in that organization. Now you're just you're out there, you become a mercenary, whatever you want to call it. But there's some interesting names on here. I told you Patrick Sandoval was at the Rams game last night. He's kind of been a guy that the Angels are waiting to have breakout for them in the starting pitching staff for quite a while. He probably was going to be due too much money according to their, analysis. So he goes on there. We talked about like Nick Madrigal, like Mike Tauchman, all these guys that were supposed to be, big prospects, big guys at the major league level. And the game's hard, Jake, man. It's hard to be good for a long time.
Yes. Sandoval, he was projected to get, I think, $5.9 million this year. But he underwent TJ. So like they're doing equations for the next couple years there, and where they thought that could land puts them in a tough spot. And there's a couple names on this list, and I think the relievers stick out the most because that's with relief pitching being the most volatile position. You see that teams, the equation becomes a lot tighter. Like, if it's your team starting third baseman and they're going to get paid $7.5 million and that, they think your value might be $5 or $6 million, but then they've got to go out and hunt for another third baseman. They might be like, well, let's see what our guy is. We know this guy, like, let's run it out there. If you're a reliever, those numbers get tighter. That Jordan Romano, all-star closer. We've seen this guy be dominant. He was due $7.75 million this year after having an injured and down-performing last season. That, for the Blue Jays, they said, well, we could bank on Jordan Romano coming back, and if he looks like that, he's worth that, but still, that's for a reliever, that is high ticket. And if he doesn't, now we've just spent $7.75 million on a reliever that we could have allocated elsewhere on the field when we have a guy in AAA who we're going to pay the league minimum and he's got a chance to click. Or we've got 3 guys in AAA who we could call up that have a chance to click. That I mean, you could put together a nice little bullpen with non-tender guys between Jordan Romano, Hobie Milner. Let's see.
I knew you were going Hobie Milner.
I'm always going Hobie Milner.
You just like that sidewinding lefty.
How about Honey? Our guy Honeywell, your friend, my doppelganger, JT Chagua, Kyle Finnegan, and Tanner Rainey from the Nationals. A couple guys that I thought might be trade candidates.
Hunter Stratton?
Yeah, like there's, the Rays just, we'll bleep that out. Colin Poche. Like there are a lot of interesting relievers. Tim Meza came over to the Yankees and performed pretty well down the stretch. That I don't know. I think it's whatever your team is doing with their offseason plans. I think it's good to have it in the back of your head, whether you're trading for relievers or you're signing relievers. Like that world is a crazy place to be. Where
it is.
My God, man, the difference between $3 million and $1.5 million, like that gets so brutal so quickly.
That's the most numbers crunching position. All these guys looking at the data. Well, his extension on this pitch through these 3 weeks was really good. If we just have him do that again, it's like, okay. But hey, we know the bullpens mean a lot. So it is one of the more interesting positions in all of baseball. So fluid. You have guys like Kirby Yates showing up out of nowhere to just dominate. You have guys that are good for 1 year and then they're gone. You have guys that all of a sudden, Luke Weaver is trying to freaking close out World Series games and he was a failed starter. Like what an insane position.
Yeah, there are a few other interesting names, especially amongst the position players. Ramon Laureano, who came over for the Braves and was really, really good for them. The Braves had a couple interesting names. I mentioned Griffin Canning, who was the Soler trade. They let him go. Oscar Yanoa, remember him? The hitting pitcher throwing electric stuff. How quickly did that change? I missed Adbert Alzolay on the way through. Yeah. I didn't realize.
Austin Hayes.
Jeez.
The Birds make a trade for him. See you later.
Josh Rojas on the Mariners, who came out of the gates gangbusters this year, kind of won over the leadoff spot. He really slowed down throughout the rest of the season. Everyone loves Connor Joe. Brian De La Cruz? What? That was part of their trade deadline ad. I don't know. Dylan Carlson, how often was that guy in trade rumors just to go to the Rays for half a year, and now he hits free agency? Cal Quantrill for the Rockies. I feel like a smart team is going to sign him, and Brendan Rodgers from the Rocks.
Yeah.
Former top prospect, Gold Glove winner, 4-WAR season a couple years ago. Man, it's the non-tender side of the game, I feel was like something, I don't know, when I was learning ball, either I was just young and blind to it, or teams were just operated more old school, less analytical. Like, yeah, this is our guy. We're going to keep him here. He's pretty cheap. And now they've gotten so deep into the numbers that you might not be worth that price tag.
What did you think when you saw my name on this list in 2016?
Savvy move. Savvy move from
Twins. Way to go.
Savvy move from a savvy franchise. No, I wasn't in the game at that point, Trev.
Okay.
I would have given you another year, All right. Hey, hopefully the hot stove has started. Kikuchi, Brady Singer, and Jonathan India. Thank you for everyone tuning in and listening. Make sure you're subscribed, all that good stuff. We will get out a Thanksgiving ep for you. Hopefully there's some juice, or maybe we'll do something we're thankful for,
Go check out Warehouse Games. Love This versus Rotten's out now. Things got a little heated out there, Jakey boy.
I saw that.
Shirts were off.
You want the people to see that side of you? Those lower back dimples?
What does that mean?
It's nice.
Okay. Okay.
We can work on the front.
Looks good now.
Okay, good.